they're having, a hard time finding people to come back and do the mainstay jobs, keep things running and all kind of services. They're having a hard time getting people back. And I don't know what's happening, I mean, if it's a disconnect with their not wanting, they're getting more money with being, getting unemployment checks. And that's a big mistake. Something.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's a common theme.
Yeah.
Is they're just this $300 a week extra, and you don't even have to prove you're looking for a job. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So that's a big problem.
Yeah, I mean, look at the restaurants. Your tenants, they can't get people to come back in the kitchen.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, one company said they had to close up one day because they can't get people to work 1 day a week.
That's sad.
Restaurant, yeah. So we'll see. It'll all come back. That stuff will pass, and people will come back, and it'll even out.
All right, I think we're ready to go ahead and get started. It's the top of the hour. So, well, first of all, thank you everyone for being here during finals week. I hope your finals are going really well. And this is actually the final meeting of the series, and I'm really happy with how the series turned out, and it's all because of Mr. Weitzman's generous dedication to the real estate program, and all of you for being consistently thoughtful and being so engaged in the series. So you all deserve a round of applause for that. And I also wanted to point out that this is the last meeting, the last real estate club meeting for the spring semester. And also my last meeting hosting for the real estate club. So this is kind of a special moment, but it's been a really great semester, and I'm really excited about the growth that we've seen in the club. And I really just enjoyed learning about the real estate industry and learning more about Mr. Weitzman through his book. And I think we can go ahead and get started on our good news. As a reminder, actually, we read chapter 6 and we finished the book. So be thinking about questions about that chapter and any final questions that you have for Mr. Weitzman in general. For the good news, I'm really interested to see those who are graduating, what you're going to be up to post-grad. And if you have an internship over the summer, I want to know where you're going to be working. And I'm sure Mr. Weitzman knows all of your bosses, so he can tell you if it's a good deal. And if anyone wants to start us off, you can go ahead.
Are you, I didn't follow you there. Are you ready? Were you asking them a question, or are we ready to start?
Yeah, right now we're going to do our good news section of meetings.
That's what I was, yeah, I thought you were.
Yeah, and I guess I can start us off. So after graduation, I'm going to be moving back to Austin. I actually move back next week, and I'm going to be working for CBRE. I'm going to start with their WILL program, and it's basically a rotational program focused in brokerage. And I'll meet with a bunch of different teams, and by the end of it, I'll be placed in a team. So I'm really excited about that. Anyone else have any cool job offers? If not, we can go ahead and start our chapter.
And sort of. Congratulations on yours, Arden. I'm not graduating for quite a while, years, but I've been working with Exxon on a pipeline easement negotiation on my farm. We reached out to Dr. Guttery about that a while ago, and they've come way up. So a month ago, I thought I had good news, but now we've kind of reached an impasse because they've turned to untoward negotiation tactics. But all in all, it looks pretty good. It looks like the Exxon is going to buy me my farm and then some. So that's pretty cool. I feel good about it.
You've been dealing with them since, I think, the beginning of the series, right?
October 2019, they sent me my initial offer, and wow. They've raised themselves a few times. They gave me enough time, though, to study this, like, really thoroughly. That was bad on their part, I think, but good for me.
That's cool. If no one else has anything that they want to share, I think we can go ahead and talk about chapter 6 and the 2000s. And I also want to hear what y'all's main takeaway from the book is and the series in general. as well as any final questions you have for Mr. Weitzman. So y'all can go ahead. JB Garza, go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah, when I was reading the chapters, actually, I thought it was kind of interesting because I used to live at the Triangle in Austin. I lived in Austin for many years, and I didn't know that Mr. Weitzman was affiliated with that. And now I live by Firewheel Mall, which he also worked on as well. But I'm trying to do my first development project probably in the fall. And I was wondering, from the different boom and bust cycles that Mr. Weitzman experienced, what would be the advice he gives to a new developer to try to tamper down on some of the risks someone takes from the cyclical nature of real estate.
Is that a question?
Yeah, it's a question for you. I was just saying, what would be your advice to a new developer trying to go out there and work on a smaller project and to try to de-risk it, or things that you learned throughout the years so that when the different real estate cycles come, you don't necessarily get in a point where you might be risk losing it all?
Okay, well, first question would be, I don't know what type of commercial project you're talking about doing. I don't know if it's warehouse or apartment or office or retail, or what is it? What type of, everything has a different risk.
Right now, I'm actually considering for the first one would be a smaller one on land. It'd be a tiny home apartment village, essentially, a tiny home village. But then later, I probably want to get into the mall space, doing acquisitions and renovations of distressed malls.
Okay, well, the one that you're talking about right now is an apartment.
Yeah, it'd be a tiny home village, which is basically a hybrid between an apartment community and a single family development.
Okay, well, that's good to get into that as a first unit, because it's first opportunity. But is this the first building you've built?
It would be the first one, so I'm trying to do it with modular construction, the least amount of heavy construction available, because I figure I'm going to make some mistakes along the way, and I'd rather make it on a smaller project than a larger one.
Yeah, that's good. Well, multifamily, is a very hot commodity today, so it doesn't make a difference how big or small. People are flocking into this region and are needing a place to live. So it's a pretty safe approach, as long as you don't overbuild it, you stay within your budget. Your free and clear projected return, in commercial, is 9 to 10 free and clear on all costs, and on a multifamily, you're going to be probably a little bit lower. But I would think that as long as you have your financing in place and you have got your equity in place, you hopefully will lease up within the time frame you project, and that would be good if you meet your budget timing. However, just be sure that you've got liquidity, put aside in the event you miss it, because where you will end up is not having enough income to pay your mortgage, assuming you're starting off with the first lien, interim construction financing. So as you get into other projects, you'll evaluate different ones differently. Of course, I would, when you talk about malls, that's going from being, a tricycle to a yacht. You're looking at a big project, and you need a tremendous amount of experience and liquidity to deal with the capital requirement to go rehab a mall. So I don't know if you mean that, and it's not a good business today. So I would recommend that you stay small for a while and accumulate successes, and not get into one that takes you down or causes you tremendous stress on your capital, because otherwise they'll take you out of the business possibly. That
Yeah.
was best I can answer you on that.
Hey, Herb, can I ask him a follow-up question?
Sure.
So JB, are you looking at developing the land and then selling the lots to builders who will build the tiny houses? Or
No,
are you looking to
I would
develop
own
the
the land.
neighborhood and build the houses and then rent them out? I mean, what's your end game here?
It would be on it'd be on land that I buy, and building the tiny homes that I purchased would be modular construction. Ideally, I haven't selected the brand yet, but I've worked as a broker primarily with home builders and developers. So I've seen hundreds of different developments over the years, and I've seen several tiny home developments too. And it seems like a lower risk way to get a higher rent on, say, a $65,000 average house cost. You can get, $1,100 to $1,600, from a college student. So there's a lot less work putting them on a property than building a whole subdivision of housing at a higher price point. So that's what I was going to do for my first project. And I've seen other people do well with similar type projects in college markets.
I think it's a good idea, Randy.
So,
for the students.
yeah. So she would build the house. Go ahead, Herb.
No, I think
I'm
it's
sorry.
a good idea if he's attracting the student into this low cost housing.
Yeah, I'm doing a development program at Texas A&M, so I'll be in College Station. So I'd probably do it there, to be honest. So I'm starting a development program in the fall. I just graduated an energy program here. Part of the aspect I'd be doing, I had a focus on renewable energy. So I'd be putting renewable energy components into the developments I do. But the first project I'm going to do is going to be a small, hopefully low risk project on land I own.
That's a good product today. That small the single family for rent, and then you're talking about modular, so you're going to be able to put them in for a lot lower cost than building them ground up.
Yeah, I mean, your average, let's say your average house is 350,000, and you rent that out, you're going to be shooting for a 3,000 to 4,000 rent. But for a tiny home, you can maybe get it somewhere between 50 and 75,000 on the build, and you can get a rent normally, like I said, at between 1,100 or 1,600 for a 1 or 2 bedroom. So I figured that would be a lower risk project, not heavy on construction, that I could do and see how it goes before I get into more complicated things. But again, I've seen many different developments, so I basically have templates on all kinds of developments and how other people did it and how it worked out, some of which I worked on myself.
May I ask a question? Sorry, go ahead, Dr. Gaddery.
Yeah, no, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh, I was curious. Yeah, I think you asked it before. What would be your end game? Like, are you planning to continue to own these and actually operate these? Because I know student housing isn't always the easiest to manage. Or are you looking to, fill them all up and then eventually sell?
I would probably hold them for 5 or 10 years is my guess, but use it as passive income for the short term, because I'm going to work on a couple technology companies that I'm going to build with a couple partners. So I want the passive income coming in and the stability to sell it off later if I need it, more money.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. I think as Herb Weitzman said, I think that's really a product that's sought after, especially like in a town like College Station. But yeah, be aware that dealing with students that might move in and out every semester may not be the most fun, or at least might be more effort than
I'd probably hire somebody to manage it, so I wouldn't be hands-on every day. But I would hire somebody to manage all the smaller aspects, because I used to have a real estate company in Austin. I lived in Austin for like 7 or 8 years, and we did management and it was at times a nightmare doing management for the college students with all the different, properties and situations, and probably don't want to go back to that. So I'd just hire somebody to manage it for me.
Well, I mean, it sounds like you got all the experience needed, so there's only left for me to wish you good luck on that.
Thank you. We'll see. There's
I'd
always
like to
that
hop
never
in.
works out how you plan it.
I'm actually from the College Station area, and just right off the bat, I'm really bullish on the area. We just had a new Costco being announced in negotiations in this town, and on the topic of students renting, uh, me and my dad, we actually rent to a few students, and they've been kind of amazing, because the thing is, you can usually get their parents to co-sign, and so that presents a much more stable renter than otherwise. So yeah, I think the College Station market is a really good place to invest and test out the tiny apartment developments. So yeah, best of luck. I believe there is a high-rise luxury condominium being planned as well, and they're trying to like fight with the city, so to speak, to get that approved. So yeah, that's awesome.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
All right, I think the next question is Sanchita, so go ahead.
Hello, can y'all hear me? Okay. Well, I actually have two questions for you, Mr. Weitzman, but I'll start off with the first one. So when you quit being a broker in 1999, like, how was the change for you, and did you ever feel like quitting and going back to being a broker? Because that's a huge change from quitting brokerage and then transitioning into like running companies.
Well, it was probably the toughest decision of my life when I had to make that, because I love being a broker. I love taking care of customers and love helping them build their companies. And when I did that, then I became real successful. I mean, I was making more money than I could ever dream about as an individual broker. So that's where I created my capital to build. Always, that's where it came from. So when I decided to change directions, I decided to take a year and decide if what I wanted to do was to really grow the company and learn to be a good CEO. Now, I had done everything in Henry Miller Company because we started off with 7 people. So I was there became president of the commercial operation of the company, which was the biggest part. Had about 70% of the brokers in the company reporting to me. I was learning how to run people and manage people, because I built a team of about 160 people, and so it was just this next step. So I think as kind of a case study, I think this is what each of you are going to be following. You're going to be taking a path that has it's a winding road. You don't know exactly where you're going to end up, but what you're going to find along that winding road, you're going to find things that you really, really excel at, or things that you become very, very successful at. And then you might, you'll end up focusing in that area. And as you grow, you are going to end up as a leader, having people work with you. So it was a very, very difficult decision for me to leave. During that year, I realized that I could still do the things I love on the entrepreneurial side of the brokerage business. But what I didn't have to do, I didn't have to live with every lead, 24/7 until the deal got transacted. I turned it over. So I was continuing to do what I liked. I took away a huge amount of time that I had to spend in that area, and I put it into the company and growing the company. And then I did bring in two consultants to help me transition. One was the best in real estate consulting, and the other was the best that I knew in terms of an executive coach. And in those two people, I was able to grow the company structurally, but then the company and all my people that I had, when I set my new company up, I had to bring people with me, and I did have particularly development partners that were outside of my former company. Those were on my team, and I built a company inside of a company, and that development company was a company that I owned in Henry Miller Company, even though it was called Henry S. Miller Development. And so I was able to go ahead and set up my development company, and then the brokers came because they didn't like being in a corporation who we merged with, and they came with me because I trained them all. So it just was an occurrence. It happened, but I did have a long-term plan, and that was to grow the company. And then I started, with my consultants developing the structure, and today, we have the key, all these divisions of the company, and it just grew, and that's just from scratch. So I think that, it's a winding road, and you're going to find that in that winding road, it's baby steps, and, it's learning risk assessment. There's risk in everything you do. And when you're going to make decisions to grow, there's an awful lot that has to be considered every step of the way. So I don't want to get into any more of that. We can get into more of it later, but it was certainly a difficult decision for me to do and to stop something I love doing every day and make a sea change, and then not really knowing how it's going to turn out.
My second question. Oh wait, hello. Oh, my second question. I know that in your chapter that you talk about the Dallas skyline like being developed and how Dallas was expanding and how Dallas could compete with like Houston's skyline. Do you still think like the Dallas skyline can compete with like the Houston skyline, or like do you think the Dallas skyline is better than the Houston skyline? That was my question.
Well, I think each has a different characteristic. Dallas, downtown Dallas, I think I was just down in our Houston office the other day, and I was driving all around. I was downtown, and I think uptown and downtown have a different personality than Houston's downtown and their midtown. We're way ahead of in the development of uptown, and that goes, in through the Oak Lawn area, north of town, goes to east to the Deep Elm area, and it goes west to, the Trinity Grove area. So down Dallas has zoning, and it's a different plan. So there'll be more high-rise buildings. There'll be more there'll be, it was a new to Fountain Place. There was a new high-rise tower that was just built over there. But Dallas has a beautiful skyline, and Houston as well. They're just different. Houston's buildings, their big companies are really the energy companies. Dallas is more diverse, with AT&T and other people like that. So I think both cities are okay, but I think Dallas is by far the prettiest, because of its planning.
Next is Shuli.
Hi guys, can you guys hear me? Okay, cool. So hello, Mr. Weissman. I had a great time reading the book. It was like a ride along through your journey, like in the development of Dallas. I was actually driving down Dallas for my like vaccine the other day, and I was like, looking around like to all the places that you mentioned in the book. I was like, wow, like it's really cool how like everything, it's grew like so, I guess like fast, and like how it came together. So regarding some like insights on the book, one of the points that you brought up during the book was the boost of the retail developments due to the residential growth that nearby that that nearby I wanted that like the nearby residentials wanted like these like convenient shopping services and restaurants, and it really reminded me of like the real estate development back when I lived in Asia. When I was small, I lived in these like huge like residential apartments communities, and there will always be a grocery store right there in the community center. And like outside the gates of the community, there'll be like shopping strips of like shopping and then like restaurants, everything. So really working in the real estate industry right now allowed me to see all the connections and that all these things made. And while there are like, I think, of course, many differences in the Asian market and the US market, each to their own strength, I think the goal of the real estate industry and the consumers and residents are the same in that they want their own convenient and special community. So kind of going off like of that and like into like the book. So my question is how and like what do you envision the future of Dallas to be like? I guess especially with like the changes that's been happening recently with like I guess of course the digitalization of everything, especially with like COVID boosting it, and also with a lot of like Silicon Valley companies moving into Texas, Austin specifically. I believe personally that Dallas will definitely be boosted, but I want to see like what you think it will like have affect like the future of the city.
Well, I think, with our DART rail and our lines continue to be expanded, and, the access to the airport and so forth with DART, and also with our highways, we have a great highway system. When I was in our Austin office a week and a half ago, and, it's got tremendous problems from the standpoint of traffic, and we're flowing better here, and we're really ahead with our highway system. So the transportation system is a very important part, and the great insight and a vision of where to put the airport between Dallas-Fort Worth and the access to that is now Dallas is the number one airport in the United States, and so we have so many great assets here that were man-made because there really wasn't anything here. From the standpoint of our development as a city, we do have a master plan, and we have COG, which is Council of Governments, which helps and leads the joint effort of all the cities in the region here, and it's a master plan. So COG is taking the lead to work with all the cities in their growth and accessibility and transportation and so forth. Each city here has their own zoning, and so we grow in a very respectful way to protect, natural assets, to grow where it's where we have the separation of industry and housing and offices and so forth. So I think that the zoning plan is a good one. Our founding fathers and leaders in the city had great foresight. We've always had tremendous leadership here, and not necessarily with the governmental leadership, but with civic leadership. And so the city has, created, all the arts. We've had tremendous arts history, with all of the different segments in the city, as well as sports. And so I think that the future is really great for the region, the whole North Texas region, and there's really no boundaries unless you go north to the Red River. So I think that the future is excellent. I'm, there are people flooding in here. There's corporations flooding. There's people moving here, and it's a great right to work state. So I think that you if you bank on Texas, I don't think you're going to lose. And from the standpoint of where you live, there's so many wonderful homogeneous cities and subdivisions where Houston, New York, you might be Chicago, you might be in 3 blocks in one area that's great, and then it gets to be another a change, or it's not well maintained, doesn't have good policing and governmental regulations, and one thing about it is we're regentrifying all the time here because new blood is coming in and people are moving here. And that's what you have to do with real estate. You just can't let real estate decay. And, we see what happens when the areas turn bad, the values go down, crime in some instances infiltrates those areas. So, we really have a lot going here. Not to say there's not problems, not to say, that, we don't have to be vigilant about crime. There's a lot of bad people moving here. You got to be careful. But we are doing a pretty good job with as we grow, and we are a managed area. We have zoning. So I think that I'd be if there's a place I'd want to pick, for business in the future, I'd say it'd be Texas. I mean, it's number one in so many categories.
And the next question's from Amlan.
So in the book, you discussed the advantage Weitzman had during the '08 recession due to low leverage and high liquidity. So what I wanted to ask was, while already having this advantage, what are some of the steps you and your company were able to take during the recession to get ahead of the competition?
Well, I think that this chapter 6 was the needed chapter in the book. I think that you followed the growth and the entrepreneurialism that took place with great leaders and great visionaries through through a 50-year period. And when you got into this last book that started with 2000 and take us through the last 20 years, it's been pretty amazing. And if you had history and you have learned from that period of which you didn't even experience, but I'm glad in the book you have been able to at least hear about it in an orderly manner of someone like me, no different than you, who was working as a broker and building a career and realizing that if you see in the book with this chapter, it's a journey, and I talked about the winding road and how the road kept winding. It would go through good times, it would go through bad times. However, when you ask this question about, okay, how '08 came 18 years after we went through the worst real estate depression that basically broke everybody that was borrowing money in commercial real estate. You either went broke or you became illiquid. I was no different. And what I say are the three most important things that you will ever need to know. I don't care how many books you read. Randy's a great professor and a great leader, but what you need to know is that you do have to have stabilized income. You got to live. And in your real estate, you've got to work to get your leverage lower and not over borrow and borrow to the max, because that's the guys that get hurt first. And the last and the greatest thing is that you can be successful, through a whole life career in real estate if you're able to assess risk and have proper liquidity. So, it's stabilized income, it's lower leverage, and it's greater liquidity. And if you don't manage that and be a good risk advisor to yourself and think through this, but not go off half cocked on something and really outstretch your capability or hit a bad market when you don't have enough liquidity and you've taken too much risk. Nobody knows the answer but you. You can certainly get some consulting, but that's where people fail, and it's a managed process. And those are the three most important things that you know, because real estate is, you know, a long-term business with short-term cycles. And just think about that. When you're there, you're working 4 years to get a project going. You go get it going, and you're there under construction, and the market falls apart. That's the worst thing that can happen to a real estate developer. So what I'm suggesting is you build your capital, somehow you build it, or you end up developing, you know, capital through partners or syndications, or, you know, develop your own capital, and, you know, you are able to mitigate your losses, you know, if you have a small piece of something rather than a big piece if things go bad. So, you know, your question really is, how did this happen? You know, when we went through 08, and, you know, we were liquid 86 to 90, and we, in the next 18 years, we did just what I said. We focused on, you know, stabilized income and increasing it. We lowered our leverage. If we paid off a property, we didn't refinance it and take money out. We ended up building up stabilized income, and we continued to pay down loans, and then we did sell off a few properties, and we created greater liquidity. And when 08 came around, we didn't experience a blip on the radar screen. We had the stabilized income covered all the losses that we had from either a property or properties or from the company, and we did not have to touch liquidity. And that's what your goal should be.
Thank you.
And the next question's from Lorenzo.
Cool. Can you all hear me now? All right, cool. That was actually the one thing I wanted to ask about, was the low leverage, because that's somewhat relevant, I guess, to now, because in order to continue stimulating the economy during the entire pandemic, they were offering a lot of like, they lowered interest rates, and they offered a lot of really attractive loans and kind of attractive stuff like that. And I'm just kind of wondering, like, with the low leverage strategy of yours, did that ever, I guess, sort of stop or stunt anything, like any kind of potential growth or project that you had that you know, like in hindsight, obviously it's more obvious, but like in the middle of, say, like a really good economic time, like start of 2016 all the way up until recently, and even up to this point, you know, was there ever a point where you wish you had kind of had more leverage, a little bit more debt to kind of just finance that, and that would have kind of taken whatever project you had further? Or did the benefits of low leverage kind of outweigh all of that?
Well, let me see if I can answer this way. There's no low-hanging fruit. In other words, you have to really be involved, I think, and of course, I think the best is being a broker, because you're able to do all that research, you know, for a client, take care of that client first, make a big commission, build up capital, because this is one of the few businesses you can close a deal and get $100,000 check, and then be able to, you know, put X of that into investments. So I think that the process, you know, about deals is finding the ones that you think work. because you're not going to be able to compete with all this money that's out there that is now. We don't know what's going to happen to the 1031 tax laws, but I don't think it's going to go away. But it's over gains of $500,000. I think it's going to apply to or up to that. So I think that you're going to have a tough time competing with the anything that's on the open market because there's going to be so many buyers. Right now, there might be 4 grocery centers in the whole state of Texas. That's the best. That's the best product type to buy in the retail side. Warehouses are scarce to buy. The cap rates have gone down to 4%, which is unheard of. It's crazy. Low credit tenants in a strip is 10,000 feet. Cap rates gone down to 6%, and no one's batting an eye, and the credit's very limited. See, so how do you've got to get yourself next to the asset or be able to create that opportunity. And that's what the brokerage business does. You are there making a commission, and you're doing all this research to find out values and understand what's for sale and taking care of that customer, getting paid, and then you find something through this research. You always work 110, 120% on every deal, and you find it. So just to think that you're going to go buy something that's out there in the open market, it's very difficult. Look what's happening in housing. I mean, the head of one of the title companies told me last Saturday night. He said, a price came in at 1.7, and that person dropped it because this is in Plano, and they dropped it because of their credit, couldn't get approved. Then an offer came in at 1.9, and that deal didn't go through, and the next offer came in at 2.4. Well, it went up $700,000. Crazy. You're seeing crazy things happen right now. It's unheard of. So you are in the middle of change, and you're not going to learn it except with your fingerprints on it. So how do you do that? It's off market. It's off market. It's all that you drive around and you're there working in real estate. But if you're looking for without a program, you're really having a hard time. You're not getting coached properly to do that. And you certainly can do it because all these software programs are on the computer, but you got to go pay for them. And so the best thing is to start off where you get exposed. And like Arden said, we have a boot camp. Where we have every head of our company is 3 days, and everyone comes in and makes a presentation that runs a division of our company. You're hearing from a developer, you're hearing from the asset managers, you're hearing from the managers, and you're hearing from the people that are at the lip of the cup working it every single day. And you can ask questions, and you walk away with a very strong knowledge out of that boot camp. And the other part of our training is the rotation. We move people from management to asset management to development to all these different departments that we have, and they learn a lot. And then, you really don't know where you're going to end up or what you really like until you're out there on the firing line, and you're seeing what you really like. Is different things are more challenging and so forth. So, I think that's what I'm talking to you about, Lorenzo, is to you won't end up owning too much, because where are you going to get your capital, if you're not making it somewhere? And if you're busy in a job, you're restricted. And then you have a family, and then you got kids. And where do you find the time to invest in real estate? So when I'm talking to you guys, you got the best opportunity ever in the state of Texas today with this platform where what I'm seeing is a completely new growth, a renaissance of Texas, with people now wanting to come here for so many reasons that are so apparent, but they wouldn't get up. But this pandemic brought it to a head, and people are coming here. And also we have great universities. We're producing great students. And so that's what I'm suggesting to you. You're going to make your own decision, but we think that look back and I think, how could I have made a better decision? And I'm going to tell you something. It's amazing how lucky I got. This was, they just turned out to be the right Texas. The cities that we went into to be in Texas was by luck. I was born here in Dallas. To have, meet, come out of the University of Texas system, which, I met so many great people that are in business here that, I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm in Austin, and I was a member of Texas Cowboys, and we were a great honorary service organization, had to be voted into it. I'm the guy that was on the field patting all the football players. As they ran out on the field, I pat them on the butt. Get them, beat them today. We're the spirit. We're the spirit of University of Texas, and time goes by. And we are in Austin operating, and of course, on the football team, the All-American was James Saxon. I remember seeing him in chemistry class, and of course, the girls loved him. They'd show him on the test. He'd have one on right and one on left. His neck got real long. He got the answers from her here. He got the answer from there. He didn't know anything. He was totally cheating on every test. Well, I go down to Austin and said, my guy told me there's a property that Texas Chemical, was Texas Chemical, or Chase Bank, it's Texas Chemical. And the president, he'll be happy to talk. We'll sit down with him, see if they'll join venture with us. And sure enough, I go in there, and who was president of the bank was James Saxon. And so, I was shocked out of my mind that he was the president of the bank. Well, because of my relationship with James, we made a deal and built a center that we made $15 million on. It's at Breaker and 183. We made a 25-year lease with HEB and so forth. The relationships are unbelievable. And so, that's one thing, a great thing to be here because of the network in the state.
That's really interesting. I think all of your answers have been so interesting. I like whenever you said there's no low-hanging fruit in real estate. Real estate's a long-term business with a short-term cycle. I think those are really good things to keep in mind when you're entering into deals. So I just thought that was really interesting. And Mr. Weitzman has a hard stop at 12, so we have time for one more quick question. And then after that, we're going to be announcing our prize winners. So get excited for that. So Harrison, go ahead.
Okay, well, I got a hard stop at 12 too, because I got to be out in Denton. So I got to drive all the way up there for a meeting that starts at 1 o'clock. So thanks. Just let me out. If y'all want to, I might have to, I got about 8 minutes till.
Okay.
Hello, Mr. Wichman. I love the series, so thank you. I was curious, when entering a real estate deal, how would you recommend thinking about exit strategies and going into the deal? Do you think it's important to consider like everything that could go wrong, or is it best, as long as there's no red flags, to just jump in and solve problems as they come up?
Yeah, you do it based on knowledge and research. And one thing about real estate is your intuition. Your gut. It's, you might have a gut about how you feel about an industry to buy the stock. Real estate's no different. But it's about what you think and feel as you experience it. Is it the right location in the right corner, the right visibility, the right access? Does it look okay? Does, all these things. And what's the trade area like? Is it transitioning? Is it going down? Is it going up? So forth. So those are things that, when I look at that, I'm a long-term player. Real estate is a long-term game. I like to have a mortgage paid off. That's the goal on every single property. So from, your question, you might have to build and sell, build and sell, build and sell, but then build and keep and keep and keep, because you built and sold and you've built up your capital that gives you the capital you need to go ahead and do these deals and keep them. Okay?
Okay, awesome. So let's go ahead and announce our prize winners really quickly. Our first place prize winner will receive an invitation to have lunch with Mr. Weitzman and tour their newly renovated headquarters, as well as a $200 gift card to use to purchase a LinkedIn Premium membership, which is around 6 months of subscription. So the winner is, drumroll, Jonathan Chang.
Wow, I did not expect that. That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Wow.
And then our, of course. And then our next winner will also receive the same invitation for lunch and a tour, as well as free admittance to our Argus workshop next semester. And that winner is JB Garza. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. I could use the Argus.
Yeah.
Slacking there. I need to do better on my numbers.
Yeah. And then our third place winner is Joseph Salmaran. He's actually taking a final right now, but he will also receive the invitation to have lunch with Mr. Weitzman. So congratulations to everybody. And really quickly, I just wanted to thank Mr. Weitzman for helping us put on such a phenomenal program. I mean, your impact on the real estate program has changed my college experience, and I'm sure others can say the same. So we really appreciate you, and this was a really amazing series. So thank you.
Thank you, Art. Thank you. And I'll just say that there's always going to be success in tough markets. And always in America, there will be risk takers. So you have to decide who you are, learn how to assess risk, and take, baby steps, just one step at a time. So it's great to be with you guys. I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot from you. I've learned a lot from your questions. I've learned a lot from how you think and how you're thinking entrepreneurially. I like that, and it helps me stay relevant. And so I wish all of you the best. It's been great to be with you. I look forward to having. We're going to have a dinner lunch next Friday.
Yep.
Hey, way to go. Okay, look forward to it, guys. Y'all have a great summer.
Bye, everybody. Good luck on your.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Good luck on finals.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.